Hello, it's the Curve Vegan here making vegan fashionable. Today we're going to make a sausage, potato, and kale soup, but vegan. Okay, so here we are. I have a hot pan where I'm melting my earth balance, and excuse me again, I have not got the focus in yet. Melting down some earth balance vegan and soyless butter. And I let that melt down and make sure that it coats the pan completely before adding in your chopped vegetables. So after it fully melts down, it takes about a few seconds. Here I have a carrot, a cup of onions, and about a half a cup of green onions or scallions. And I start most of my soups with that mixture of chopped vegetables. Sometimes I add celery, sometimes I don't. One thing about celery that I do like is that it has natural salt, and it actually seasons up your soups well. So I covered my pot for 2 minutes, and voila, they're cooked down. They're almost translucent, or transparent rather. And now I add my seasoning. That's pink Himalayan salt, and I just grind probably about a teaspoon or so in. I add black pepper, and of course you guys know I love my black pepper. I add onion powder. There it goes. And garlic powder. I stir it a little to make sure everything is incorporated. Because you know I love my stirring, right? And I add my garlic, my minced garlic. Sorry guys, my camera died. So at this point I have my vegan sausage, which is, there we go, Life Light vegan sausage, meatless and vegan. I diced it up really fine, and now I'm adding rosemary, ground rosemary, about a teaspoon. And I'm adding about a teaspoon of thyme, ground thyme. And of course, what do? I stir it all up. And I'm showing you guys a glimpse of everything in the pot. Try to get that spoon to stand up. There we go. And now I'm getting ready to add in my potatoes. I chopped up the small russet potatoes. And I always like to add them in right before I add in my water, just so it can kind of be, specifically in this soup, it has to be at the bottom of the pan so my potatoes can cook. I cover them up again just to create some sweat to make the potatoes tender. Okay, after 2 minutes or so, I stir it once again, make sure everything is incorporated. I love to stir. You ever had something that one side of it was good and the other side wasn't? Okay, right here I have some Goya ham seasoning. It does not have any ham in it. It just has a flavor of ham. And I only use a half a pack because it can be very sodium rich. So I used a half a pack of it. And also, you can't see it, of course, my garden veggie cubes that I use for my soup base. I add 1 cube in, and these are great. That brand also has an unchickened broth or cube. I tend to use the garden one only because it has a little less sodium than the unchickened one. But if you want something to taste like chicken, go for the unchickened. Okay, so now that I have that stirred in, I'm adding 1 head of kale. And then, only because my pot is really small, I had to let some of the kale cook down. So I think that's the full first head. But for this recipe, I used 2 heads of kale. But that's only 1 because of the size of my pot. And I'm adding my water. And I added extra water because this particular soup is more brothy than the stew that I made in the previous video. So I added just enough water to almost cover my kale. So I'm still adding, as you can see, that's about 2 cups per one of those mugs. Again, I don't have like direct measurements because I always cook to taste. So I was getting ready to put it down, but then I said, let me add 1 more to the pan, 1 more cup. I do believe I'll add another one of those, yeah. So when my kale starts to rise up like that, I know I have enough water in it. So try to stir in, of course, everything. After I get through stirring and trying to get the kale at least in some of that stock that I've made, I cover it up and I let it cook down a little bit. At this point, I have added the extra kale, the second head of kale. And kale, any green leafy vegetable, cooks down a lot. As you know, like your collard greens and mustard greens, kale does the same thing. So this is 2 heads of kale that's in here. And as you can see, my potatoes, my sausage, my carrots, my onions have all rose up to the top of the pan. Because at first everything was at the bottom. So now I'm adding some tofutti cream cheese. And this stuff is amazing. And it's only 60 calories for 2 tablespoons. So you can imagine just how healthy this soup is. So I think I added in, that's 1 tablespoon. Get off the spoon. And that's 2 tablespoons. So that was about 60 calories. Or about, I say about 2 tablespoons. It's maybe a little over 2 tablespoons. And what I do is I always love my red hot. I love it. Delicious. I love anything with hot sauce in it though. And I add my nutritional yeast for more flavoring. And that's probably about 1/4 of a cup, if that much. And I just begin to stir everything around. And at this point, I have turned up the heat just so that it can become a roaring boil, because I need the sour cream to break down. And as you see, I'm trying to stir it in and whisk it in a little bit. And then once I get it up to a boil, then I'm gonna cover it up. and wait. Actually, I covered it up to wait for it to boil a little bit. As you can see, it was starting to boil. Okay. Then I cut it back down, and I started stirring again because I wanted to make sure that my my cream cheese had all incorporated evenly. So I'm not sure why it's taking me so long to start stirring, but I'll be there in a second. I know what was happening. I was going to thicken it like I did my stew, but I wanted it to be more brothy because, you know, I don't know, with this soup I didn't want it to be thick, so I just wanted it to be more brothy. So I changed my mind and I decided to just leave it like it is and let it just continue to boil, because I wanted to make sure that the cream cheese really got in there good because of the consistency. So now I'm stirring to see it had not broken down yet. So that's a thumbs down. So what I want to do is keep stirring and let it keep boiling until you have everything melted down, incorporated in there good, and all the flavors marry each other. So I'm just whipping the spoon underneath the surface just to make sure everything is broken up and I don't see any more cream cheese chunks or cream cheese residue. And as you can see, after whipping it and the temperature being turned up, everything broke down. So I just kept double checking, because you do not want to be eating the soup and then your flavors aren't all incorporated in. So, and I was just showing you here that it's a more brothier soup, which it was delicious, because I am, of course, posting this days after I made it and ate it. I cover it once again, I do believe, and I'm turning it down because I just wanted to simmer just to make sure. And that's a close-up. And after simmering for a few more minutes, this is the final product.